everyone, I'm Maureen Wiley. Welcome back to my channel where I use the power of emotional intelligence to help people live the life of their dreams. I want you to imagine yourself waking up on Monday morning. How do you feel that moment when your eyes first pop open and you think about all the things that you plan to do that week? If you're anything like me, you probably wake up thinking about all the items on your to-do list and often feeling like there's just no way to do all the things you want to do in 1 week's time. I know a lot of people here on YouTube like to talk about maximum productivity and how to conquer your to-do list, but today I actually want to take a different approach to the topic of feeling overwhelmed. In this video, I'm not going to show you how to get more done in less time. I'm not going to teach you how you can stay on top of your calendar and accomplish all the things, but I am going to let you in on a little bit of a secret. The reason that you're feeling overwhelmed is not because of the amount of items on your to-do list. It's actually because of the thoughts that you're thinking about those items. The thing about to-do lists is they're actually endless. We can always add more things that could be done. The possibilities are absolutely limitless. So in this video, I want to talk about the power of constraining ourselves and recognizing the internal narratives that we have about all the things that we want to accomplish with our precious time. The first step is to actually recognize all the things that we have going on that are making us feel overwhelmed. So get out a piece of paper or open up a new tab on your computer and write down everything you need to do that's making you feel overwhelmed, that's putting this added stress onto your life and making you feel that there are just too many demands on your time. Okay, I'm guessing if you actually took the time to write down all of the items on your to-do list that are making you feel overwhelmed, the act of writing them down probably helped to make you recognize that either this is just an unrealistic expectation of yourself, or perhaps you're feeling like a lot of the stress was coming from not knowing exactly what it was that actually exists on that cosmic to-do list. When we're feeling overwhelmed in life, it's often because of a thought that we have like there's just not enough time, or there are too many demands on my time, or another common one that I see is there are too many interruptions, like I just can't get anything done with all these other people around. But why do we think this? It's kind of a bit of a cultural delusion that we have this thought that we are always needing to be productive, always needing to get things done, and that there's going to be some magical moment in the future when we're able to actually get to the bottom of our to-do list. Or what I see in a lot of my students is this perfectionist fantasy that we'll be able to create a system and a schedule that is going to permanently fix this feeling of overwhelm and keep us constantly at our maximum level of productivity. So if we want to rewire our brains away from feeling overwhelmed, the first thing we need to recognize is that all of these items on our to-do list are optional. They are actually choices. We do not actually have to do any one of the items on our lists. In reality, the only things we actually have to do are breathe oxygen, drink some water, eat some food, and get some sleep. And the good news is the body is really good at doing those things instinctually. Essentially, if it's something that our bodies cannot survive without, they are going to find a way to make it happen. Embracing the idea that every single thing you want to do or feel that you have to do is actually a choice is the most empowering and de-stressing choice you can make. However, I know that when I first heard about this concept that everything we have to do besides our instinctual drives is actually a choice, I felt a little bit defensive, let's say, or maybe a little bit like confronted, because the first thought I had was, well, if I don't go to work, then I'll be fired from my job. Or if I don't go grocery shopping, then I won't have any food in the house for when that instinctual hunger drive kicks in. Or thinking about people who have children, if they don't take care of their children, then the authorities are going to get involved. These don't feel like choices when we're thinking about things in that way, but they ultimately are a choice. If I chose not to go to work, I might not like the consequences, like, for example, being reprimanded or even being fired, losing my main source of income. If I don't do one of the chores on my list, I again might not like the consequence of living in a home that isn't clean or where there's no food in the fridge. That is a choice that has certain consequences that I might not like, but that doesn't take away from the fact that ultimately they are choices and I get to decide. I am the one with the agency to decide whether or not I want to make that choice. A lot of times these so-called consequences of our choices are not even really so bad as much as the feelings we are afraid we are going to feel if we make that choice. So yes, I don't plan on not going to work and losing my job anytime soon, but if that were to be the case, the painful part of it for me would be the emotional experience. Perhaps the fear of how am I going to afford rent, food, and other expenses, or a feeling of shame perhaps that I've been fired from my position, or even like sadness or grief at the loss of something as a result of a choice that I've made. So I'm certainly not advocating that we say to our to-do list, screw it, I'm not doing any of these things and I'll just deal with the consequences and the emotions that come along with those consequences another day. No, I'm actually saying that once we have allowed ourselves to think of something as a choice, it often means that we feel a sense of agency, we feel a sense of empowerment that allows us to readjust our expectations of ourselves in order to be able to prioritize the things that really matter to us, perhaps even thinking about them in terms of, okay, which consequences am I not willing to experience as a result of the choices I need to make in terms of what I'm going to be able to get done from my to-do list. When I look over my list of things to do, what I often feel is an overwhelming sense of anxiety that is born out of a fear of future judgment. I might tell myself that I'm afraid of other people judging me, but the reality is I'm mostly afraid of judging myself for falling short of my expectations. But here's the thing. When I'm feeling that anxiety looking at my to-do list, it's not a fear of future judgment. I'm experiencing that judgment right now. We're afraid of judging ourselves, and many of us do it unconsciously. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're noticing some self-judgment creeping in, I want to invite you to allow that emotion to move its way through your body, processing that emotion without being in a rush to distract yourself or move beyond it, or most often repress the emotion, and instead allow that emotion, that fear, that self-criticism, that shame or guilt to just wash over you and move its way through your body. And if you want a guided meditation to help you do this, you can check out this video up here. I invite you to ask yourself, what would you rather think instead? This is that moment we're bringing in intentional thoughts that you're going to cultivate on purpose, the kind of thoughts that are going to rewire your neural pathways. Those are the thoughts like, I am in charge here, or I get to choose how I spend my time, or this is my priority right now. So what can we do instead? Well, first of all, we can stop looking at the items on our to-do list as some oppressive demand list that we have to follow, otherwise we are going to be considered a terrible person, and start to recognize that it's as if this to-do list is a wide menu of options and no self-judgment needs to come along for the ride. If you notice that you're afraid of certain judgments creeping in, identify what those thoughts sound like in your brain. This is the perfect time to do what I call a thought download, where you open up a fresh sheet of paper or a Google Doc or something and just write down all the things you're afraid that other people are thinking about you, because the reality is those are the thoughts that you are thinking about yourself, and it's possible to change your brain to no longer think those thoughts by practicing intentional thoughts and allowing that emotional experience to move through your body and settle in such a way that you no longer are resisting that psychological experience. One of my favorite strategies for cultivating this new psychological experience of no longer judging myself when it comes to my to-do list is cultivating messages of safety. I've talked about messages of safety in a lot of my videos on recovering from chronic pain, but it's actually the same thing. You can use messages of safety around emotions like fear, anxiety, overwhelm, and shame, and along with physical sensations like chronic pain or other symptoms, including headaches and migraines. One of my favorite messages of safety that can help with the world of overwhelm is to recognize the common humanity with a phrase, something like, "How human of me to feel this way." My favorite message of safety that I have used hundreds of times is, "I don't have to do anything." Ultimately, the key is to commit to no longer abandoning yourself and judging yourself ahead of time. If you're interested in learning more about how to build this skill and rewire your brain using the power of emotional intelligence, I've got a couple of spots open on my calendar, so check out the link below if you want to set up a curiosity call and talk a little bit more about the work that I do with people one-on-one. Thanks for watching.